You're thirsty. You kneel at the river, and 20 feet upstream, crouched in the reeds with a very peaceful look on his face, is a man we'll call, I don't know, Splashy McRiver Spoiler. Splashy is having a moment. Splashy is, let's say, editing the river. You stand back up. You are no longer thirsty here. Congratulations. You have just performed the first recorded act of water safety analysis, and it cost you nothing but the small dignity of making brief, terrible eye contact with Splashy. Multiply this scene by every river, every century, every Splashy. That's where the rules come from. Because the water that ends you looks exactly like the water that saves you once Splashy leaves. Cholera has no smell. Giardia has no taste. Dysentery arrives in a cup that seems perfectly clean. In the world before plumbing, this was the single most efficient way to erase a human, especially a small one. In pre-industrial societies, roughly 1 in 3 children never reached their 5th birthday, and the executioner, more often than not, was a mouthful of water. Ancient humans couldn't see what was in it, and yet somehow, most of them made it to adulthood, which means they were doing something. Start with your gut, because your gut is doing more work than you give it credit for. Your stomach sits at a pH of about 1.5, and pH is just the number scientists use to say how acidic something is, where lower means more acidic, and 1.5 is aggressive enough to dissolve a razor blade given enough time. That's sharper than a vulture's, sharper than most predators that eat rotting meat. Biologists argue it's not really about digestion, it's a chemical moat. It exists because for most of human history, everything you drank was a small gamble with something microscopic. Your body was built assuming the water was suspect. And here's the strange part. Researchers suspect this permanently overbuilt defense system is one of the reasons your species survived at all. Every sip you take passes through a machine that evolved to expect a fight. But acid only helps if you're an adult with a working immune system. Babies don't have that yet, which is exactly why babies were the ones dying. So what did the adults actually do? They wrote rules, not on paper, into their culture, into their taboos, into the little corrections mothers whispered to children. But here's the part nobody tells you. Those rules were not handed down by a wise elder on a mountain. They were reverse engineered by trial and error over thousands of generations, and the price of every discovery was a body. Somebody's cousin drank from the still pool and was gone within 2 days. Nobody drank from that pool again. Somebody's father drank downstream of the deer carcass and burned with fever for a week. The rule wrote itself. Human memory, stretched across generations, became the world's slowest, most expensive laboratory. And these are the results it produced. Prefer running water to still. Prefer springs to pools. Never drink downstream of a village. Never drink where the animals refuse to. Watch for insects skating on the surface. Good sign, because certain aquatic bugs won't tolerate stagnation. Watch for a film that catches the light like oil. Bad sign. Notice which plants grow at the edge. Notice whether frogs are singing at dusk. Notice the smell. Not the strong smell, the wrong smell. None of these rules require a microscope. They require 100 grandmothers, each remembering one funeral and one grandchild patient enough to listen. Around 400 BCE, the physicians who wrote the Hippocratic Corpus were already recommending straining water through a cloth bag, later nicknamed the Hippocratic sleeve. It cleaned the water. Slightly. It gave the drinker the priceless comfort of thinking they were safe. Except most of what would harm them was smaller than the weave. The manual gets more sophisticated when you jump to India. The Sushruta Samhita, compiled around 600 BCE, tells you flatly, boil the water, expose it to sunlight, filter it through sand and gravel, then store it in a copper vessel. Every one of those steps works. Boiling destroys pathogens. Sunlight, UV damages microbes. Sand and gravel, the ancestor of every modern water filter on Earth. And copper, we've since confirmed in modern labs, actively neutralizes bacteria on contact. These physicians had no idea what a microbe was. They had watched people die and lived long enough to notice the pattern. Every rule was written by a funeral. There's a catch, though. Boiling requires fuel, and fuel was expensive. You cannot boil the drinking water of an entire Bronze Age town every day and still have a forest left standing. So most people didn't. They cheated. And the cheat was brilliant. They fermented it. Sumerian workers were paid in beer. Egyptian laborers building tombs drank a thick, low-alcohol brew for breakfast. Medieval Europeans drank small beer from childhood. Even children, across continents, cultures with nothing in common, independently arrived at the same trick. Sterilize the water by growing something in it first. Alcohol, at even 2%, is hostile to most of the microbes that were quietly taking everyone. The same solution, invented over and over on every inhabited landmass. That's not coincidence. That's the shape of the pressure. Which brings us to the uncomfortable part. Every rule we just walk through, every clever filter, every sacred spring, every grandmother's warning, every single one of them was carved into human memory by a dead child. Traditional wisdom sounds romantic in a museum caption. On the ground, it is a graveyard. The Hadza mother in northern Tanzania, who knows which pool to skip in the dry season, knows because her aunt didn't. The wisdom of our ancestors is a phrase we use because we watched enough of our own babies convulse and die of dehydration that we finally noticed the pattern doesn't fit on a plaque. Every drinking custom you inherit is the fossil of a catastrophe. Culture, in this domain, is grief that learned to organize itself. And here's the strangest twist. The water didn't just take us, it edited us. That stomach acid we mentioned, abnormally strong for a primate your size. Your saliva contains lysozyme, an enzyme that punches holes in bacterial cell walls before the water even reaches your throat. Populations with long histories in disease-heavy environments carry gene variants, like those tied to cystic fibrosis carriership, that some researchers suspect were selected for because they gave partial protection against cholera-style dehydration. Even the sickle cell gene across sub-Saharan Africa was shaped by malaria, which breeds in standing water, meaning our blood itself was reshaped by our failed attempts to manage it. You are the descendant of the ones whose bodies happened to survive it. Every ancestor who couldn't was quietly deleted from your family tree, one funeral at a time. And there is one last thing worth knowing. The oldest known water filter on Earth is a wall painting from an Egyptian tomb around 1450 BCE, showing servants siphoning liquid through cloth. 2,000 years before germ theory, someone in Thebes had figured out that if you passed water through fabric slowly, fewer people got sick. Meanwhile, in ancient Crete, the Minoans were building terracotta pipe systems that separated drinking water from sewage in 1700 BCE, a distinction that Europe would forget for the next 3,000 years and rediscover only after London's Great Stink of 1858. Progress is not a straight line, it's a species stumbling forward in the dark, occasionally lighting a match, occasionally blowing it out. So, back to that river. You wake up thirsty. You walk to the kitchen. You turn a handle and clean water falls into a glass without you thinking about it once. No splashy, no reeds, no terrible eye contact. That gesture is younger than your grandparents. Everything behind it. Every mother who watched a spring for a week, every physician who wrote down boil, then filter, then copper, every worker who chose the beer instead of the river, is you standing on their shoulders. You are not the first human to be thirsty in the middle of the night. You're just the first one in a very long line who gets to be careless about it. Drink the glass. Someone paid for it.